You are about to participate in the most ambitious culinary experiment ever imagined.
This competition is going to test everything.
Adapt quickly to anything. I mean anything. The wildest day of your life starts right now.
Series premiere 24 and 24, Last Chef Standing. Sunday night at 8 on Food Network. Stream on Max.
Burn again, burn again, burn again. ABCs. Welcome to the Bare Naked ABCs, where we discuss every Bare Naked Lady song from the last 3 years, from Z to A.
Tracy, can you pick up the pace a little? I'm going to be old by the time this is over.
Pick up the pace, like the Conte pace.
Well, I am the person tonight that will be hurling rocks from his gilded glass house. But joining me is a little white guy telling little white lies, Aaron.
Aww.
Aww.
And the Eggman sitting on the fence is Heidi.
I am the Eggman, cuckoo cachoo.
Goo goo gajoob.
And finally, the person who wants to see me shamed, displayed in stocks, is Betsy.
Well, that is entirely
That's all of us,
accurate.
really.
Well, you're not wrong.
I can probably have described all of you that way.
Stocks and bonds, or like a soup broth. Which
Like
kind
a
of stock?
soup
I was thinking more like the
Stock.
stock.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Guys, that was really weird. Michael and Jeremy, like, they seem like really nice guys and all, but I mean, they just stole our show.
Rude.
I'll be honest, part of me was really happy that they stole this song. I really don't want to talk about it. Can we just skip this song? Can we call it good?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Let's do it.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
See us
everybody.
next week.
All right.
All
good
right.
checking in.
See you
Yeah,
next
good
week on
things,
Hee
guys.
Haw.
And that's it.
The
All
next
right, good.
generation.
Do you guys really want to talk about Too Old?
I
For
mean,
a
if we
little while,
did,
perhaps.
if we did have the level,
I mean,
kind of obligatory.
All right.
That's the bar we're setting.
actually, I kind of like Too Old. I don't know.
Well, all right, fine. Heidi likes it. We'll talk
Why
about
do you
it.
hate it? I don't understand.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
What's your
Tonight we're
damage,
going to be
Heather?
discussing the song Too Old from In Flight. And if you haven't heard it yet, good for you. No, here is a brief snippet.
I like it.
From your gilded glass house, you're hurling rocks. You want to see me shamed, displayed in stocks. What you fail to see is you don't scare me a bit. 'Cause I'm too old for this shit.
Tell us how you really feel, Tracy.
Oh, you wait. I will.
It's chafed.
So, guys, this song originally started as a folksy song and then evolved into a Tom Petty rock type song.
It's still sort of folksy.
Yeah. It's got a little
Folk
folksy.
I would call
folksy.
it country.
Folk punk.
The guys say that there are homages in this song to Shaving Cream. So,
Wow.
kind of like them jumping in with the harmonies to cover the end of the I'm too old for this and then they jump in with their harmonies. I don't know. I think that's a pretty weak homage there, guys. Tyler says that this is a great 12-string medley by Kevin, but in the video, Kevin's playing a 6-string. So I don't know.
Maybe
if
he's playing it so fast, it looks like 12 strings.
I mean, it could be like Nirvana on top of the pop.
Yeah, right.
Just wave your hand in front of the strings.
Maybe he played a 12-string in the studio
Or like,
and then
yeah.
didn't want to bring it out for the
Part
video.
it's
But
Danny Bonaducci strumming the bass, you know.
Wow.
Maybe not that bad.
but
don't
can
have
you
to
guys give us a breakdown?
I can do my level best, and hopefully Heidi and I can sail through this together.
Yeah, you go.
Too Old was recorded at 69 beats per minute.
Nice.
Noise.
and it is in the key of D major by my reckoning. It's more or less entirely a 4-chord song. It spends most of its time in D major, occasionally bounces to G major or B minor, and then A major, resolving back to D. So it's a lot of 1-4, 1-5, occasionally like 1-6. And then I don't know. It's pretty simple. The structure is interesting in as much as it's not like I wouldn't really call. There's sort of a refrain of "way too old," right? But that's not really a chorus. It's pretty short. The first verse, arguably, is repeated at the end, so you could call that a chorus, maybe. But maybe this stems from the folksy origins that you referred to, Tracy, but it seems kind of more like A, B, A, B, A, B, and there's like a solo in there, but it's over, I think the A changes, and like, yeah, I feel like it's kind of just folksy A, B, A, B, A, B, not really, they're not really a bridge to speak of, like like you normally think of. There's like a solo, and that's fine. But it's just, it's a lot of D. The pre-chorus or the chorus, whatever you want to call it, is G, A, B, A, or G, A, B minor A, which, I find amusing because GABA. Mm-hmm. But, that's about it. I don't know. That was the length of my insight into it. This is, admittedly, this was a bad week for me, and I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I'm getting too old for this shit.
Same.
That chord progression's funny because GABA, gabapentin is a nice drug for pain, which if you're too old and you have nerve pain, that's a good neuropathic pain blocker.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have taken that one listening to this song.
It can make you sleepy too, actually.
I
This
gotta
song
hear
is pretty
why.
sleepy at 69 beats per minute.
Well, before we go into why Tracy hates this song,
The trouble with Tracy.
I would love to hear why.
No,
Heidi
I want
likes
to
this
hear
song.
from everybody else first.
Okay.
You want to hear your side of things, Tracy.
Yeah.
Let's just rip off the Band-Aid, shall we?
Yep. Rip
All
it.
right. So
let's launch into the trouble with Tracy here.
I mean, I have a rant. This is like a Lewis Black rant.
Oh,
at
God.
This point. It's just not as funny.
If it weren't for my horse, I wouldn't have spent that year in college.
It seems like Ed is attacking cancel culture with this
He is.
song. And granted, I'm
He
not
said that
a
clearly in the
cancel
video.
culture. Yes, thank you. He did. Well, if he made the video, but I think that they agreed that the video was fitting with what they.
No, I
were
mean
trying to
the
say.
track by track video when they talk about it.
Oh yeah. Yes. So in the track by track video, he very much says that like he is that. How would you like to put it, Heidi? Because I know that I'm biased on this.
No, I want to hear why. I want to hear your why.
He is basically saying that he is tired of people canceling him for things that he has said a long time ago, and he doesn't like the idea that. Well, I'll put the snippet in here, so it directly from Ed's mouth.
So Too Old, it's kind of a rumination on social media, cancel culture. We live in a very strange time where everybody holds the nuclear codes in their hands. I long for a simpler time. It's feeling like I'm too old for this shit. I just want to play music and entertain people and not live in fear of one joke I made 25 years ago, bringing our career to a halt.
But I'm not a cancel culture kind of guy, but I also believe that in the right of people to vote with their pockets and with their voices, and I know that Ed's not being sarcastic here because of what he said, and in the video where he was specifically saying, no, I'm tired of people like taking stuff that I said 20 years ago and holding it against me, and it makes me I don't want to be careful with my words. I staunchly disagree with him. It is harder today when everything you say is recorded 20 years, and then 20 years from now, culture will be different. I agree, yes. But people are also forgiving if you apologize and you admit that things were different and that you've grown. And this song really feels as though it's taking power and legitimacy away from important concerns. It feels like it's the opposite of Page's golden age of doubling down.
So what exactly was Ed canceled for? Because that's news to
Yeah,
me.
that's what I was wondering too, because that would have been 1999 if he said it was 25 years ago, and they did do that documentary. I can't say it, documentary, 25 years ago. So I don't know if something.
I mean, we have teased and joked about some of the stuff that he has said in early songs, which we would never say today. You know, the words retarded and stuff like that. Like, yes, they were young. Yes, back in that day, it was okay to say that stuff. And I don't agree with holding someone's feet to the fire because they did that back then when it was okay, if they're willing to come forward and say, I don't agree with that anymore. I would never use those words anymore. But it seems like the point that Ed's trying to make with this song and with Flip is that we just need to be nice to everyone. And I agree. We do need to be nice. It's important to be kind and nice, and dialoguing with people, especially if we don't agree with them. But there are, this is what's really important to me, there are certain viewpoints that I will never concede to. I will never bend down when it comes to racism or ethnocentrism. I will listen to them, but I will never agree with them. And some things are that when they're said, they need to be jailed for. He you know, one of his lines in this song is, you know, the jails are filling up for what people are saying. And, you know, there are certain things that people do need to be shut down for. Nazi propaganda and threats on people's lives are non-negotiables. Like, the idea is that those are thoughts that need to be canceled. And so, I mean, like, where do you draw the line? That's a really tough question, but I don't think that the answer is to allow racism and genocide to have a voice.
Do you think
And
you meant
by
with public media, social media and everything? Do you think you meant like Facebook jail as well as like literal jail? Like,
I don't know, but yes, I
Could
believe
be.
that's probably what he was talking about. But those, if you're making those kind of statements, you need to be put in Facebook jail. Like, there is an absolute reason. Like, if you're spouting Nazi propaganda, then you should be put in Facebook jail.
Yeah, but I mean, that's certainly not what Ed was doing, I would assume.
No, and that's where I get really upset about this song, because is he saying that? No, but what he is doing is opening the door to giving power to those statements and taking power away from people who are standing up and saying, you can't talk like that.
The problem is, it's an issue that requires nuance, and that is not very popular on the internet, nuance. You know, like, yeah, I could agree with you definitely. I mean, incitement to violence is not covered by freedom of speech, so that we have laws specifically for that. You know, as far as what really bothers me, I think, I'm somewhere in the middle here. I think I probably lean closer to you, Tracy. But I do also think, you know, I've seen people come out and say, hey, you know, I used to have this opinion, or I used to say things like that, and I realize now how harmful that was, and make a really heartfelt, genuine apology, and still kind of, you know, have people just kind of railing against them. And it's like, well, you know, I get it, and it's their right to do that. But it does sometimes make me sad, because I worry that it might discourage other people from wanting to do that and basically try and grow as a person, you know, because that's the thing, is none of us are perfect. And if you know, the only way that you stop growing really is by thinking you are, and you don't have to change. Right. So, I mean, I do worry about maybe like a social penalty that comes along with people kind of admitting when they messed up, admitting when they were wrong in the past. But having said that, like I said, I do agree, Trey. I think that the whole cancel culture thing is somewhat overblown by people on the other side. I don't think it's as big a thing typically. That's why I'm so curious about what specifically Ed is referring to if he's talking about personal experience, because
Well, I don't
I'm just
know.
trying to
His-
imagine.
I found his exact quote. I wish for a simpler time when I didn't fear that a joke I told in a song 25 years ago brings our career to a halt.
Oh, it was in a song?
That's what he says.
Do you suppose he's just being
I don't know because I don't know.
like maybe
any-
he's just sort of throwing out 25 years?
Yeah, as a
maybe,
random-
maybe he's not referring to a specific thing. Maybe he's more just like saying, I've seen people before who, told a joke, 20 years ago, and now they're getting dragged for it.
But who?
I mean, well, I don't know. It's like I said,
That's the
I
thing,
think, I think
Any
it's overblown.
comic
willing
from
to
the
own up
70s and
to it.
80s would not have survived today. Richard Pryor would not have, even Richard Pryor, we think about Louis Black. There's a lot of shit.
I don't know. He's
From,
touring.
yeah, but
Yes.
no, if you go
Final
back and
tour.
I've seen, I don't know how many the specials that Louis Black had. There's anti-women stuff in there. There's there's a lot of stuff. Carlin would have been totally screwed. So I don't think Ed is just talking about himself as much as he is anything. You go back in anybody's background. And you're going to find things that you're like, oh yeah. But I also, I guess we differ a little bit in that I don't think that we have to over apologize for something we said in 1987, because you were right. It was a different time, and it was not what we were thinking at the time. I don't even remember how we used to use the R word like nothing. Not because we weren't making fun of folks with special needs. It was like,
Especially in the
it's
80s
like
in
gay.
New England. I mean, that was just...
when we were in high school in the 80s,
was.
oh my God, don't be and now, and as a teacher, we know.
Yeah. And it's a good thing
We've
that
grown,
is not
right.
prevalent today. We've changed and improved as a society. But I take your point, Heidi. I do think comedians in particular ought to be given a little more leeway, because the whole point is they're kind of flirting with danger. They're kind of they're presenting, they're supposed to be provocative. And a lot of times also comedians will present a viewpoint that they don't actually agree with, but they're doing it to either skewer it or to look at it from a
Right.
different light, or to help you empathize with those people so you understand why they might have that, even if you disagree.
Michael Richards, we know you listen. Come on, listen.
Oh, dear. Oh,
I
dear.
mean, what did we just do?
Now we're
going
gonna
to
get canceled. Thanks, Tracy.
And we think about movies that we grew up loving in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, that those would be highly
It breaks my
controversial
heart
today.
every time I watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and they drop the F slur at each other, and I'm just like, it's like the one moment in that movie that doesn't hold up, unfortunately. But
again,
it's so sweet most of the time.
Let's go back to the BNL TV show, the pilot that they did.
Yes.
I will unashamedly admit that the Michael Richards scene was probably my favorite scene out of that whole pilot. Would it ever be aired today? Not a chance in hell. But back then, when comedy was different, I would have laughed my ass off about that. And it fit in with the comedy that was done back then. That was something that you could have seen on Seinfeld. Like, the writers for Seinfeld wrote that. Yes, you could see the people on Seinfeld taking it down a little bit because that it was on NBC. So yeah, good luck with getting at jokes like that on NBC.
We got Curb Your Enthusiasm later too.
Right.
The unfiltered version.
But the idea is like,
Very pulpy.
I think that, yes, I think people give a lot of credit to that, though. Like, we don't... Michael Richards is an example where the things he said were not part of his comedy routine, and
They
that's
were
why
shouted
he was
in
canceled.
anger, and yeah, exactly. No, and I like I said, I think there's nuance here, and that's the problem. Is a lot of people want there to be an easy... We can categorize this is good, this is bad, but oftentimes
know
it's like,
people
well,
going-
it's a mixed bag.
but I don't know people going out and canceling people for jokes that they made.
Really, this
back
doesn't really
then.
happen too much IRL. That's the thing. It's a very online thing. You know what I mean? So I'm actually curious because it seems like if Tracy was like a 1 on whatever scale we're talking about here, and then Heidi is a 10, I'm like a 3.5 or a 4. I'm curious, Betsy, what's your take on all this, regarding cancel culture and stuff like that?
Well, I think I've said this before too, that like tone and context and just having a conversation with somebody shines the light on it that it needs to be shown to be presented in the proper context. So I'm always somewhere in that gray zone. But I don't know, I think maybe it's not like, I mean, I was going to say like knowing the band like I do. I mean, I've been a fan for a long time, but of course I don't know them personally, but Ed, come on the show. But, I think I'm probably like a 5, somewhere in the middle, because I can see both sides. And certainly I don't foresee any members of the band intentionally saying anything to harm anyone. But, I mean... when you're in the public light, everything is under a microscope. So, I don't know. I mean, then the documentary you're talking about, or no, the TV show that you're talking about, Tracy, like Ed didn't he dress up as like a Chinaman, quote unquote?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
they were making fun of Steve because he was wearing women's pants and like all kinds of things that would never fly today.
Yeah.
They were making fun of having sex with goats. Like
even think about like Monty Python, like some of those things. I think John Cleese has spoken about this as well, about things that they did in the early days of Monty Python, and even in like the Holy Grail and other things would be considered controversial.
Well,
Mel Brooks, holy shit! Have you watched Blazing Saddles recently?
Yeah.
We just watched it a few weeks ago.
So,
Black Sheriff.
Yeah, like I said, I think comedy, not all comedy, but I think a lot of good comedy is transgressive. So I also think it's clearly a generational thing as well, and that's the thing, because people who were alive during that time understand what the world was like and what the standards were, and I think some young people maybe have trouble conceptualizing, that it was that different, because it was quite different. I think the internet and the global culture that we have,
there was a lot of biting sarcasm back then.
We have accelerated the rate at which culture evolves because of how fast information can be exchanged now. So I think that I don't blame younger people for being like, hey, that's messed up, because kind of some of it was, you know what I mean? But you also have to allow yourself, for me, context is so important, emotional intent is so important. So you mentioned Michael Richards. Like I said, those were words spoken in anger, and at least they seemed to be sincere to what he believed at the time. Quite different from, that SNL skit where Chevy Chase drops an M-bomb and Richard Pryor calls him a dead honky.
Yeah, that's great. Oh my god.
Very, very different.
Well, there's a difference between raising a mirror to something that is done satirically versus doing it and believing it and then people backing that up. For example, some of the stuff that Dave Chappelle has come out and said, which I won't watch Dave Chappelle because of some of the stuff he's said within the last few years. I think that people have the right to vote with their pockets. Yeah. Like I believe in democracy and in capitalism to some extent, of being able to vote with your pockets. If you're like, that was not okay to say, and unless you're like willing to back down from that, I don't want to put my money there.
I mean, I most certainly almost entirely agree with you. I will say one thing, and this seems to be largely a Twitter phenomenon, which I'm not on Twitter very frequently, but from what I've observed, there's this thing where like someone will
Twitter, we know you listen. Come on.
digs.
The Twitter.
Sure. The tweeter. I refuse to call it X.
Elon Musk, we know you listen.
Oh, Elon, we know you listen. Come on the show and give me a Tesla, please. But no, I mean, I there's this phenomenon where like there's a villain of the day on Twitter. Somebody points out something, and then the post catches on, and everyone starts hating on them. And the problem is, I mean, sometimes rightly so, but I think frequently things are taken out of context, or people will interpret whatever is said in the least charitable light possible. You know, there's a thing called clip chimping, which people will do, which is
Say that again?
I think it's called clip chimping. So the idea is like you take a clip out of context of what somebody says. Like somebody could be characterizing an argument they disagree with,
Clip chip.
but it sounds like they're espousing that argument because you just took the section where they're saying that, right? And
You
they
took the
didn't
knot out.
emote enough and use the sarcastic voice, so it doesn't seem obvious, right? So like. Get that the kids these days don't appreciate inflection. No, but so I mean that's the thing is I do feel like I have seen really good people who I know did not mean to hurt anyone or offend anyone and said something which I think in context was rather innocuous and get totally dragged. I've seen some really great video essayists like basically leave YouTube because of harassment they received for some things they said that were honestly, in my opinion, not that out of pocket as the saying goes. So I don't know. I do feel like there is this like 2 minute hate or 2 minutes hate thing. It's like 1984, right? Where they're like everyone wants to go and verbally lash someone. To get out, I don't know if it's like maybe this is like the equivalent, the modern day equivalent of like the Coliseum, you know, or like it's instead of death games, we have career death games, you know. So that's the thing. I do feel it's overblown as a whole, and I think that some people on the right in the culture war context, quote unquote, have like tried to use it as like a wedge. And use it as an issue where I think that it's either not as prevalent as they make it seem or not as dangerous to most people, or, you know, that it's something that's a little more, you know, nefarious. But I do think that there is something there where it's very easy, I think, to go overboard or to really... You know, good people who really shouldn't be caught up in that kind of thing do get caught up in it, and it's unfortunate. It's sort of like what do they call the not friendly fire, collateral damage. It's like collateral damage in the culture war, right? And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. That's my opinion.
Now, I will agree with Ed on one thing, and it's kind of that first paragraph, that first verse that he says. By the way, I do like the phrase "gilded glass house." I like not only is it really good because you know the what's the correct word? Where you know,
alliteration.
Oh, alliteration. Yeah,
alliteration. Thank you.
Jinx.
I like the alliteration, but also the idea of a gilded glass is that it's reflective, and so they're living inside this house where all they see is themselves. I like that.
It's a mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, and then throwing rocks from it. So, you know, they're going to end up getting their house broken down. I like that. But I also like the fact that he's saying what you see is that you don't scare me. I'm too old for this shit. Basically, what I take from that is like, you know what, this cancel culture that, you know, everyone is scared to be who they are. But guess what? I'm too old and I don't really care what you think about me. So I'm just going to say my truth. And I do respect saying your truth, as long as it's not racist. I must make that like my biggest problem again with this is that it opens. You know, I could see someone that's racist, like using this as their chant, like yes, you got it, you get us, because it opens that door to saying like I can say whatever I want. You know, you're right. I should be able to speak up. No, there's some things that need to be hushed up, shut down, and people that need to stop spouting hatred. Mic drop.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, who's going to argue with that?
Yeah.
And that's my biggest fault with this is because I don't see anyone shutting Ed down.
That was my
see
thing too.
anyone-
I'm like, who's gonna rag on Bare Naked Ladies? Like, are they really a prime source of contempt for somebody? Like, you have to be going through a lot of bands and a lot of people to like take up issue with them because they're pretty innocuous. But I mean,
Is this aimed at Steven? Is he?
maybe.
Is Steve canceling Ed?
I mean, honestly, like this is the complete
I mean,
and
I thought they
utter
were cool,
opposite
but-
to Golden Age of Doubling Down. Like Steven has come out pretty strongly on the opposite side of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And he used quite a lot of sarcasm in his last songs, but none of that was aimed at BNL. Matter of fact, I don't think he's written a song that was even slightly BNL tainted except for A New Shore. And even then it was more self-effacing than anything else.
Yep.
Except for that one line that he did say on Twitter where he did say that their first song after they came back was kind of a slap in the face. And yeah, I mean, but truthfully, it was a little bit of a slap in the face. You Run Away was... If Ed's going to say that You Run Away wasn't an attack, then...
No, I think he's gone on record as saying, like, yeah, that's exactly what you thought it was.
Steven had every right to be angry about that song.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. This song just makes me feel icky because, I don't know, it makes me feel like he's being entitled, and I don't like that from Ed.
Ed, we know you listen to the show.
Do we know that?
We know you used to listen. Come on the show. No.
If we're going to talk about... We should talk about the video.
Yeah. I do like the video.
92.
I like the framing of the video. The Viewmaster.
Yeah, it was an interesting take, and it wasn't just lyric videos. Like, if you're... I'm not a fan of lyric videos, but this one had like a theme to it, and had some pretty good jokes that came in it, like Sticks and Stones stickers. I was like, oh, that was pretty good. That was smart.
I mean, all I can think of now is the
No,
band Styx and the Rolling
no.
Stones.
Yeah.
I feel like Heidi's thinking over there.
I got a lot. No, I just got a lot that I'm trying to word it the way I need to word it. I really
Other
like
stuff?
you. I really like the first verse. I think the problem is that
Okay.
I don't think Ed's as wrong. I don't think he's necessarily talking just about himself, though. I think it's just his perception right now, looking back at, they've said a lot of things in their concerts and done a lot of things in their concerts too. And I'm sure that if you go back and you're like, oh my God, I can't. But the whole line from your gilded glass house, you're hurling rocks. And that's the problem, is we have a lot of people that will shut down people very, very quickly without even listening or considering context. You can watch the news all day long and you're going to get this snippet. And if I say a full sentence and you only say, Heidi said the R word, but it was because I was saying it in the context of this whole other line, that's what they're getting. And then they'll that whole idea of, and we do have some folks that are just waiting to pounce on some people, especially online. You can't, I don't even know how many, teacher pages where you say something just the wrong way and you are destroyed. And not only that, but some people will even research which school that person comes from, report them to their administration, and then they get either pulled on the carpet or fired because of something that they were asking advice about. Or it could be right now, it could be, I'm really unsure about, gender pronouns, and they're looking for advice, but then they're attacked for being not open or whatever. And that's not it. but it's so quick to take things out of context or flip somebody's words or make them the way you want them to be. And you're in your glass house. Well, guess what? Those same people that are attacking so many people should not be throwing stones, because there's stuff that then they find from that person from 20 years ago. And it just becomes this cycle where I do agree. Like, people want to bring back the stocks. They want to put people's heads back on the blocks so that, you can. Now, granted, you are right, Tracy. Like, there are some people that absolutely, like, should be gone for a very, very long time. But I'm a constitutionalist at heart, in that if freedom of speech means that we have the right to say what we need to say, it also means that the person right in front of you, it's almost a direct line from one of my all-time favorite movies, The American President, where he's like, if what is the line about the flag? And then he's like, and then the person that's burning the flag in front of you also has that right, if you truly respect the Constitution and the First Amendment, which I agree with, which is, it kills me when people talk about some things that are so hateful and so wrong and so inappropriate and bordering on illegal. But and I get that. That's not, I don't think, what Ed is talking about. I think Ed is talking about the things that are taken out of context that, again, you don't even remember the context of something you said 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You don't remember, maybe I was telling a story or a long joke. The jokes alone, how many, a priest, a somebody, and a somebody walk into a bar? None of those are okay for prime time. Not one. Like, thinking of the old guy, the guy that used to, what was his name? John something. He used to do the Limerick songs. They were highly inappropriate. And
Andrew Dice Clay.
I love a good limerick. Oh, hickory dickory dock.
No, it wasn't Clay. It was John Var something. Anyway, and he actually played Hampton many times, and all of his stuff was very sexual, very inappropriate, and it wasn't Clay. And I grew up with Clay too. Who his stuff was way inappropriate, and he's come out many times and said that was a character I was playing, though completely inappropriate. That was not me. That was the character. It's like Larry the Cable Guy. That guy does not exist. He does not have a Southern accent, and he doesn't really act like that. But that's the persona that he created. Is everything appropriate? No. But I think that Ed is just kind of saying, yes, we need to be appropriate, but if I say, Aaron, nice haircut, that's not to mean that I'm dissing, like, everybody that's got a flock of seagulls haircut. No.
Thank you.
No, it needs to go a little higher. But I think that
I don't know if that
Ed's just saying,
qualifies as
let's
flock
not
of
take everything
seagulls.
so seriously. Because
I agree with that.
Well, I teach college kids, and I have to be very careful about what I say now. Things I can't even walk into a class. For years, I was like, okay, guys, let's go. That is now offensive to my students. And I am like, oh crap, I just said, okay, guys, let's go. Because that's how I refer to my students. Like, I was like, okay, guys, like, how many times do we do that? All right. Or God forbid, how many coaches said to their kids, okay, ladies, let's get on the line. And they're all like the football players. All right, ladies, let's run a little faster. That is not even close to okay anymore. So,
I agree.
But when it's so embedded in how you've said things for years, it takes a little time to redirect my filter. So now I am redirecting that filter. I am careful about not using, girls, boys. Okay, boys and girls. I use but now I have to say, okay, friends, or okay, my wonderful ones, which
People.
sounds so stupid, but it's because I'm still working on it and learning. But I think
Listen
we
up,
do
y'all.
have people like that have said something as silly as walking into their classroom, okay, ladies and gentlemen, and they've gotten called on the carpet. That's not bullshit. That is real.
No.
And that's why
No, that's
when
true.
he's like, we have some students even that are ready to pounce because they're quickly triggered and offended when you meant no ill intention. But there's no time for that explanation. And that's like where all you can say is, I am so sorry that you felt that way. It's just, it was there. It's an automatic response for me. I mean, I'm never saying anything racist or like doing anything like that. But even something that's seemingly so innocuous, like, okay, boys and girls, let's get ready for the day. Or, that can be misinterpreted. So I think I don't think he's talking about the big stuff.
Misconstrued,
I don't
yeah.
think he's talking about letting people go on racist rants and talking about joining
I
the
don't have-
KKK or, bringing in your white hat. I don't know. Because I don't think that way. But because I don't
Heidi, I
think
think
that
you
that's
brought
what
up
he's
a
saying.
good
I think
point.
he's saying that the little things that sometimes get pounced on people, that's where it's like, where is the line drawn? And I think that's why. That's just my opinion. Because again, I think the people that push on people the most are the ones that have a lot to hide themselves. So we need to just stop with the bull crap.
So I want to agree with you, Heidi, that about everything you just said there. But it also brought up that what really kind of what really
use that for the rest of my life.
what really
Betsy.
kind of irks me about this, and I wasn't able to put my finger on it until you were talking about this. It's the extremes. And the people that are at the extremes take these statements and they also make other statements that sound a lot like what this song is sounding. I wish that the song sounded more like what you were saying, Heidi. And it to me it doesn't. He doesn't call out the absurdity of the extremes. He's instead coming from an entitled point of view of like, I don't want to be held accountable for something that I said 25 years ago, instead of just saying some of those things I shouldn't have said, but they were never meant intentionally to hurt. But people on the extremes will say, like, for example, if you get up in front of your class and you say,
Well,
like, so I have a student, for example, that loves to go to extremes, and they'll be like, well, it's so horrible today because if you say hello people, then someone's going to say, I don't identify as a person, I identify as a taco. So you need to respect that. No, that's an extreme, and that's someone taking it to the way far out there extreme in order to prove their point. And in doing that, like, that's what the song kind of comes from. That's what this song sort of comes from, is that it feels entitled. It feels like someone...
we still watch South Park in my house. Like,
yeah,
holy shit, dude.
Yeah. That first episode alone.
And Trey have not been canceled.
So
I don't know.
I did.
Have you
I
seen
did just
Book
want
of
to
Mormon?
share for anyone who does.
Everyone has the floor.
Because the majority
They're
of people
uncancelable, for
don't
sure.
go to that extreme.
For
and
anyone
I think
Is it because they've gone so extreme that we can't touch that? Is that why? Because they're so extreme it's absurd at this point?
they always have been. They always have been, so you don't know where they're really coming from because they go so extreme with everything that you're like, what do they really mean?
Well, the comedic timing is totally off now because I've not been able to get it in when I wanted to. That's what
she said.
See, I'll get canceled for that.
That is not appropriate. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. But
Hive
no, to my
I swim in a sea of inappropriateness. Go ahead.
to anyone who may have to address a large audience, might I recommend me being from actually a small planet somewhere in the vicinity of Betelgeuse? It's easy for me to address a crowd because I say, "Greetings, fellow humans." So just imagine that you, yes, human.
I am not human. I am from the planet Zyborg 9.
Let's get ready to rumble. But I will say that I end every one of my classes with the following. I'm like, okay, do something kind for yourself or somebody else today. Don't add to the population or subtract from the population. And if you do, even if we have video proof that you weren't even there or completely innocent, lawyer up. Because cops are not your friends, even though we love police officers. Their job is to get the bad guy. Like, and the kids are like, what? But I'm like... Now, some people would go, oh my God, you're so, what, you're anti-police? No, I'm very pro-police, but I listen to too many murder podcasts, and I know how stupid people are for not getting a lawyer right away. Or, don't add, I once did get in trouble for the don't add to the population or subtract from the population thing, which comes from what the Marines say when people go on a 3-day leave, a weekend leave. That's pretty much the exact line. Don't add to the population, don't subtract from the population, which means don't get somebody pregnant. Duh. But somebody once said, well, what are you against children? Or what if I was pregnant? That I'm like, that's not my intention. It's meant with humor and funny. But I was like...
No, and your point is true. The problem is that that most people aren't holding Ed or any celebrities' feet to the fire for things said in jest. And that's where I get upset with this song, because it comes across as like, how dare you hold me accountable for something that I'm not actually being held accountable for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, having said that, any particular lyrics? We mentioned the Gilded Glass House line, which is, I agree, excellent.
I like that.
I don't understand the Eggman line. Someone explain.
What?
I mean, I get it's a Beatles reference, but
right.
What the hell does it mean? What he sounds like he's mixing metaphors to me, and I'm like, I don't get what you're trying to say, Ed.
It's just a little white lie from a little white guy, and it never really made much sense. Put a little more time into meter and rhyme. Put the Eggman on that fence, and up it's gonna fall.
Well, so talking about meter and rhyme, and never really made much sense. Those two things combined with Humpty Dumpty make me think of Alice in Wonderland, because you have nonsense, you have meter and rhyme.
Okay.
And Humpty Dumpty was in Alice in Wonderland, or Through the Looking Glass, I think, actually. Either way. So I don't know. I think maybe it also might go back to the glass house thing, where this is fragile. You yourself are fragile. If you were pushed, maybe socially, if you were pushed, you might break too. I don't know. I'm just reaching here, I guess. But
I appreciate your attempts at reaching. I'm not
Stretch Armstrong.
That's what.
Oh,
Oh my
an
God.
attempt was made.
Wait, did you hear the story about Eric Burden? I never knew this story. Eric Burden, who is the guy that John Lennon nicknamed the Eggman, and so he called him the Eggman, and apparently, let's see, there's something really weird about this story.
To be fair, his head is rather.
He was
shaped
given
like
the
an egg.
nickname by John Lennon in a 1966 orgy.
Adam Sandler.
What?
Did you say by the
During
band's orgy
an
or during an orgy?
God, I can't even. So Eric Burden.
Maybe. Well, I could guess a few things, but I'm not sure it'd make it in the podcast. Oh dear.
He was the Eggman, or some people called me Eggs. The nickname stuck after a wild experience I'd had at the time with a Jamaican girlfriend named Sylvia. I was up early one morning cooking breakfast naked, except for my socks. And she gave me a something capsule under my nose, and she grabbed an egg and cracked it on my belly. And
As
he was
one does.
naked. Whoa, that's now, I don't know if that's a reference to that Eggman, but that's who's known as the Eggman.
Okay,
And
not
that's why.
what I was thinking.
Could be, or and it could just
Well,
be
there's
because
also
he
the
brings
expression
up
"egg
Humpty
on your
Dumpty
face,"
right after that,
which might be
was
if
an egg
you're
man.
regretting something you said
Man
in the
egg.
past, might also be related.
I think it was just a weird line.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless it's just because he's a public figure and he's putting himself, like when, Humpty Dumpty's on the wall. By being a public figure, you're kind of exposed and
Yeah.
Or is
I
it
just
from
think it's one
Dr.
of his
Eggman from
weakest lines. Like, I don't
Up on
see
the
Sonic?
wall,
a
yeah.
great connection
I don't
there.
know that reference, but sure.
And honestly,
Yes, Eggman. You might know him better by Professor Robotnik if you were
put yourself-
grew up in the States.
Or,
But
or
I
I
believe-
might know him
I-
better if I've actually watched the show. Yeah, either. But
I wonder, because actually that would fit better. That kind of fits better.
Jim Carrey,
Oh,
we
be
know you
quiet.
listen. Come on the show.
Because he likes to whip up crazy robotic armies that look like him to help with his dastardly schemes. Maybe that's the Eggman.
I'm trying, Tiny.
I think we've gone too far.
no, wait a minute.
Okay. So what are we going to give this for a rating?
I
then?
think we
Are
have taken this analogy further than
Yeah.
than Ed even did. Hold on, there is one more trouble with Tracy.
Oh, trouble with Tracy. We have
I was
trouble
going to say this a couple of weeks ago,
with Betsy.
but I forgot. And coincidentally, they proved my point this week by the fact that I can just say the same thing now that I was going to say then. I'm scared of their. I'm scared that if there is a tour, what the tour is going to sound like. This is the fourth song that we've heard on this album, and so far, every single song on this album has been slow. And
Not the
I'm
wheel?
getting older and getting worried about falling asleep on the ride home, but for this tour, I'm afraid that I'm going to fall asleep.
How appropriate.
Yeah, I'm afraid that I'm going to fall asleep in the middle of the concert. Of the 14
Well, I
tracks on
mean-
this album, there are only
Yeah.
2 up-tempo songs.
It's
Snort some coke.
programmatic, right? They're singing about they're feeling old, they're feeling worn down, they're tired, and
Just
what you want them to take a bunch of speed and go into the studio and like bang out 1 week again.
I understand
no, but
that.
I don't. I don't want to go see this album played live. This is like this is an exhausting album to listen to from front to back.
Yeah, not a stadium song.
And I'm just like they avoid certain songs when they come on tour because they're like, no,
Not
that's not a
truly.
tour song. You can't get an audience going.
Well,
Bring some of the old stuff
I don't
back,
hear
I'm
any
sure.
songs on this album that are stadium songs. I'm like, what are they going to tour with?
Living life
Oh,
is two little
sure.
name drops.
so
That's no pun
Betsy, did
intended.
you have something you wanted to add? Sounded like you did.
I was just gonna do 2 little name drops because Jonathan Colton actually has a song that's kind of like a cousin to this, not dead on, but so Aaron knows it. It's called "Don't Feed the Trolls," but basically, like, kind of the recant is like, don't. Oh shoot, I had it up here. Don't read the comments and don't feed the trolls. So basically,
Good
if
advice.
you're going into a forum that's going to be, exposing you to possible ridicule or whatnot, or praise,
Don't feed the
just, viewer beware, I guess. And then the other thing was the Conan O'Brien podcast that I listened to. He never, ever checks social media. He has an assistant that does it, and he's like, I just can't He's
Yeah, just don't do it.
kind of sensitive and like
Yeah.
he's so
Well-
self-deprecating that I would
Yeah,
probably.
Well, did you see the girl that
Yeah.
was on? I think it was it The Voice or America Got
many-
Talent or something? And she wrote a whole song based on the mean comments that were made on her page, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I think I've seen
I
that.
sound like
Yeah.
a dead cat dying.
But that's the thing is, like, how many times have you seen someone produce some beautiful work of art or song or like post a wonderful photo, and then there's always someone who's like trying to put them down or whatever, you know? So, yeah, I mean, I guess to that extent, I would say, you know,
do we
if
have
you
mean
are a
tweets,
public
Tracy?
figure, you probably have
Do
to
we
try
have
and
mean
disconnect
comments?
from that. I think if you don't, it's not really good for your health. You got to touch grass.
I'm sorry,
Man, because if we did, what we could do is have a mean
that an
comment section
occupation?
at the end of the podcast.
I haven't seen any except
Oh.
from that one Jorker.
Yeah.
Way
Yeah,
back
we
when.
could, like,
Biggest
oh, that
jerk
Aaron
ever.
guy sounds like a jerk.
Biggest ever.
No, that's his name.
Oh.
I'm trying to pull up his
Yeah, I'm not
his
too worried about
ranking
it.
right now. Because he didn't hurt me none.
How many cancellations do we rate this?
Oh, see, I was gonna be really mean.
Oh.
I was gonna say that Ed doesn't want any rocks thrown at him, so maybe we should rate it on how many
Throwing
automobiles.
Pope Mobile.
Slightly fiery moved, but not to be too critical. Oh, they mentioned hammers and nails, and let's see what else. But no, I like the
Gilded glass houses.
poop emojis.
So yes, our two major ones that have the two that have really laid into us was Jork 3344, and he said poor sound quality and juvenile humor giggling throughout the show. I'm hoping this show ultimately becomes a fun and insightful podcast, but so far it is a chore to listen through a whole episode, which is not a good sign. 7 episodes into it. I'll give it a few more tries to see what
When
happens.
was that
That's
from?
charitable.
Update. Yeah, I'm out.
Oh, there's the door.
Oh,
You'll
so
be
before I
missed.
was here. So
That one
You know
is
what?
from
Don't-
2018.
I hope they didn't let the door hit them on the ass on the way out.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you hate it when people announce that they're leaving something too? Like, bye, Felicia. Like, what? What do you want
wow,
us to do?
the early days.
Please come back.
Yeah, it doesn't reflect on you at all, Heidi.
Oh my god, I love that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite one of my favorite tag groups on Facebook
Yeah,
is
obviously.
this isn't an airport. There's no need to announce your departure, which
Now, the other one that gave us 1 star was by Lorne. Lorne Michaels, we know it's you.
Lauren, we know you listen. Come on the show. Come on the show.
It said, so I clicked on this because I'm a BNL fan, only to find out the podcast is 2 guys who know nothing about the show and about the band, and then they start insulting the first song from the get-go. I don't see what this brings to the table. Well, Lauren, you were talking about our competition. the other
Oh,
Bare
really?
Naked Ladies podcast, because
Wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
we have more than 2 guys talking about it, and they say that they know nothing about the band. So you put the
Put
wrong
the emphasis on the wrong
quote
syllable.
on the wrong.
Wait, did you just say it at the same
Podcast.
time, Betsy? Jinx! Jinx again! Oh, I just broke my desk.
And-
That made me laugh.
Jinx, jinx.
I broke my
I
desk.
drink to
So-
you.
Sure.
So should we do how many gilded glass houses? Is that what we're aiming at?
No.
Yeah, it's nice alliteration.
Okay. And you remember that's the correct word. So, and for that,
Yeah,
I'll let you go
I
first.
use it fairly frequently. Oh, that sounds like more of a punishment than a reward. Okay, but we're gonna go with it. All right. I don't love this song. I listened to it because I
Homework.
needed to. Would I listen to it again voluntarily? Nah, not so much. Gun to my head, I guess I'd listen to it again. But
Rather than be shot, I would listen to this song. It's still on the fence.
and I am a fan. I swear to God, but this is not.
Not your BNL?
I hate to say it. It's not my Bare Naked Ladies. It's not. It feels like they're going through some changes, and it's not the same.
Changes.
That's right. So I mean, it just feels old and tired, and just it seems like they could get the same message across in a manner that's more consistent with the stuff they've done before. But then again, people often change, and so does music. So what the fuck? I don't know.
What's the Barbie, Betsy?
That's not the context of argument, but okay. I would say, I don't know. I would give it a 3.0, and that's being generous, because I kind of appreciate the message, but it just kind of annoys me. It kind of chafes me a little. I just like the tempo and the
It's like a wet swimsuit.
You're gonna get canceled, Tracy.
yeah, something like that with some sand, a little bit of
That's-
sand.
HR would like a
This
word
song
with you.
makes me feel like I'm making pearls. What'd you say?
Oh, I have a word for them.
Next.
I wrote the book on sexual harassment.
Oh, nice.
No,
There you go.
literally. That was my thesis.
Ich bin expert.
Not to brag.
Whenever anyone's like, "Where you need to take sexual harassment training," I'm like, "Yeah, I wrote the book on it."
That sounds like a really fun book to write.
Aaron, how about you? What do you
Well,
think about
don't-
this song? How many gilded
Don't
glass
cancel me for
houses?
this, but I think I might be drinking the haterade here. I think this is right down the middle. This is a perfectly average song. It's not a bad song, but like Betsy, I probably am not going to seek it out anytime soon. So I'm giving it 2.5 gilded glass houses, right down the middle.
Still not the haterade.
It's like a split level.
Heidi, what about you?
Duplex.
I don't not like this song as much as some of my colleagues, my wonderful colleagues this evening. But yeah, it's not a great top of the line BNL song, no question. It is a middle of the road song. I would listen to it. It wouldn't be the top of my playlist, but I'd listen to it.
Would you listen to it in the middle of the road? Was it that bad? Somebody.
I would probably give this, for me, yes, in the middle of the road. Actually, that's a much better song by the Pretenders. Chrissy Hynde rules. But I would probably give this I'll give this a 3.2, which is low for me. But it's,
Fair.
I mean, it's a middle of the road song,
Okay. All right.
but I don't hate it.
All right. Well, first of all, I don't
you
like
going
country.
Oh,
I just don't like it. I want to like
You're a
it.
little bit rock and roll.
I'm a little bit rock and roll.
Are you Marie or are you
I'm
Donnie?
Donnie. Donnie was rock and roll. I've tried it many times. I don't like country.
You make it sound like it's a drug.
Yeah.
I've tried it on an
It
empty
just never did
stomach.
anything for me, man. You know, it just gave me a
With
headache.
friends. I tried it on vacation.
It's like a bad trip every time.
I was backpacking through Amsterdam. I gave it a try,
Baseball was today, right?
and then I discovered
my
I much prefer Haterade. Delicious
Little sips
Haterade.
of salty haterade.
You know, someone said in an earlier podcast episode that Natalie has always wanted Ed to make a country album, and it seems like
He did.
He did.
This is it.
Yeah. This is almost a Garth Brooks feel. But that's not, that's not
I
my
like
main
Garth
problem
Brooks.
with the song. We've discussed what my main problem.
Maybe a Chris Gaines era
Yeah.
Garth Brooks.
No, that was harder than
Which
this.
honestly, I kind of like that stuff.
I
Yeah,
like-
Garth. We know you listen. Come on the show.
Garth. Party on, Garth.
Party on, Garth. Garth.
This song made me feel
Yay.
uncomfortable, and it's fair to say that it even made me feel queasy, like there are worms in my stomach. Not butterflies;
Ew.
they are
That's
worms.
too graphic.
Jesus.
Oh, I see what you're doing here, Tracy.
Yeah, it's like next week's song. They are the
I
worms.
see what you did, and I know you had to do it, but God damn it.
Next week we will be covering "Waiting for the Worms" by Pink Floyd, and I will be a happy,
Waiting for the worm to
happy
change.
camper.
Waiting for the worm to change.
It's a mashup. Oh god, that'd be a mashup between Pink Floyd and John Mayer. Waiting for the
Yeah.
worms to change. I kind of want to make that now.
I retitled when Coldplay had Paradise. I retitled it as Parasites because I was in tech school at the time. So Parasites.
Parasites on her dashboard lights.
Da, 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 da. No, that's Meatloaf, not Coldplay. Unless you want cold meatloaf play.
Well, parasites, that would fit with meatloaf.
Everybody's gonna
Leftover meatloaf.
think, come on the show. We know you listen. Oh,
That'd be.
broadcast.
I will say I've really enjoyed. What were you doing down there, Heidi?
Hey! Whoa!
My drawer, my middle desk drawer is like falling down. I don't know what happened.
HR would like a word.
I have so many words with HR right now.
Oh my god! I have to name my next pet HR.
I love that idea. I mean, we often refer to our cats as the manager, you know. So, HR.
I love that for you.
HR needs its fancy face.
All right, so I will say that Heidi, I've really, and even though it's been a little bit of a fiery discussion, I appreciate that we can have this discussion and that neither one is willing to cancel the other.
Well, we've actually never had a really fiery discussion, so this is pretty good.
Yeah, and I'll say that you changed my ranking a little bit. I started out as a 1 on this song. Like I was really low. I hated this song.
Wow.
Yeah. I still hate the sound of the song.
Uncut hater.
But I get where he's possibly coming from. I still don't like it. It still makes me feel entitled and icky. So I'm going to up it to a 2.
Okay.
Up it to
Yeah, from
Okay.
a 1. 2 gilded glass houses. Well, I guess that
Icky,
makes you
sticky.
the official haterade drinker of the week.
Oh, I'm the haterade on this one. Yeah,
He's chugging it.
I will admit that. And that's going to definitely bomb this album a little bit. But, yeah, I got to do it. And
Wake
you
Up
know,
was decent.
We'll have to dig a hole for this song, put it down into the ground with the worms.
They Are the Worms is our next song, which I'm very, very curious. To me, I would have expected this to be on the kids' album, you know?
Interesting you should say that, but yes.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Like, this is a one-off kids song on this album, and it's all about the Krebs cycle. No. I was trying to think. I couldn't find it fast enough. I was like, there's some kind of cycle with the earthworms and nitrogen
crabs
or whatever.
cycle.
The Krebs cycle. That's different. That's back to parasites. Yeah.
Crab cycle. Yeah.
We were just talking about parasites.
Oi.
Well, come back next week for a much more lighthearted discussion about worms.
Hungry for words.
Y'all come back now.
How to eat fried worms.
No,
Well,
my God, I remember that book.
Until then,
Can't do worms.
I remember that movie.
farewell, my fellow humans.
All right. Have a great night. Thank you guys for having this lively discussion.
I'll-
Cause I'm too old for this shit. Way too old for this shit.